Have you ever fallen for someone who was completely wrong for you, but felt so right? Welcome back to Movie IQ, your home for the boldest movie recommendations, recaps, and rankings across every genre. Today we're counting down 5 older woman, younger man romance movies that IMDb can't stop rating. Hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because this list gets more chaotic with every number. Number 5. I waited for the perfect glow-up, but I never expected it to look like this. Mac Martin is 30, single, and completely invisible to everyone around her, including herself. She skips her best friend's bachelorette weekend in Palm Springs, and one wild, unexplained night later, she wakes up 70 years old. Diane Keaton takes over, and suddenly Mac, now going by Rita, is doing something she never did in her own skin, living loud. She rents rooms she couldn't afford, wears clothes she'd never dare try, and becomes a viral sensation overnight. But here's where it gets complicated. Rita starts falling for her much younger dog sitter, a man who has no idea who she really is underneath. This is the kind of role reversal that makes you rethink everything you thought you knew about aging and love. The question is, when the clock resets and Mac goes back to being 30, does she keep the confidence Rita found, or does she lose the one person who finally saw her? Mack and Rita sits at 4.8 on IMDb, and viewers are still split. Watch it, then tell me in the comments which side you're on, and subscribe because movie number 4 gets even messier. Number 4. Why is nobody talking about the retreat that broke every rule in the room? Catherine Lowe is a best-selling novelist with a brutal case of writer's block, so she flies to a private retreat in Morocco, hoping the silence will fix her. Instead, she meets Owen, a much younger man who isn't even supposed to be part of the writing world. He's there for someone else, a relationship that's already falling apart in front of everyone. Catherine tells herself she's just there to work, but Owen keeps showing up in the wrong places at the right times, and the tension between them gets impossible to ignore. What starts as late-night conversations turns into something neither of them planned for, set against the kind of Moroccan scenery that makes bad decisions look absolutely stunning. But Owen came to this retreat attached, and Catherine knows exactly what crossing that line will cost both of them. Do they choose the spark, or do they walk away before anyone gets hurt? Lonely Planet sits at 5.7 on IMDb, split right down the middle between people who call it a slow burn and people who call it too slow. I want you to watch it and pick a side in the comments. And make sure you're subscribed, because movie number 3 is where things get even more personal. Number 3. I beg you to stop letting strangers move into your guest house. But Alice Kinney didn't listen, and honestly, we're glad she didn't. Alice is 40, freshly separated, raising 2 daughters, and living back in her late father's iconic Los Angeles home. One drunken birthday night, she meets 3 broke, ambitious 20-something filmmakers at a bar, and somehow ends up offering them her guest house to crash in. What was supposed to be a temporary favor turns into something much messier when one of the 3, George, starts looking at Alice like she's the most interesting person in the room. Alice knows the math doesn't add up, the age gap, the timing, her kids right next door, but the connection keeps building anyway. Cooking dinners together, late-night conversations that go too long, glances that linger a little too much. Then her ex-husband shows up wanting a second chance, and Alice has to decide who she actually wants to become now that she's starting over. Does she play it safe, or does she choose the guy half her age who actually makes her feel seen? Tell me in the comments if you'd have made the same choice as Alice, and hit subscribe before movie number 2, because that one is a different level of complicated.
Like, ballpark.
Oh my God, tell me you see him too.
Number 2. Here's how you ruin an entire family and still convince yourself you did nothing wrong. 20 years ago, Gracie Atherton Yu's relationship with a boy decades younger than her became a national scandal. The kind of story that ends up in headlines and in courtrooms. Now their twins are about to graduate high school, and Gracie is finally living the quiet, respectable life she always wanted, until an actress named Elizabeth shows up to study her for an upcoming film. Elizabeth is here to understand Gracie, to get inside her head before she plays her on screen, but her questions start pulling threads nobody in this house wanted pulled. Joe, the man at the center of that old scandal, has never processed what happened to him as a kid, and watching Elizabeth dig through his past forces him to finally ask the questions he's been avoiding for 20 years. As Elizabeth studies Gracie a little too closely, the line between research and obsession starts to disappear, and Gracie's carefully built version of the truth begins cracking in front of everyone. Who actually controlled that relationship back then? And who's still controlling the story now? May December sits at 6.7 on IMDb, and it is one of the most unsettling watches on this list. Comment below if you've seen it, and subscribe now, because the number 1 movie on this list has the highest rating. Number 1. I waited for the perfect ending to this story, but it never came, and maybe that's exactly the point. Marty Mauser is 23, broke, working in his uncle's shoe store, and completely convinced he's destined to be the greatest table tennis player the world has ever seen. Nobody else believes it, not his mother, not the sport, not the people who control the money. Marty gets pulled into the orbit of Case Stone, a retired movie star trapped in a marriage to a powerful, controlling businessman. Kay sees something in Marty that nobody else does. ambition without permission, and Marty sees in Kay a life he's never been close to. Money, fame, a world that could actually fund his obsession. Their connection isn't romantic in the traditional sense. It's transactional, desperate, and dangerous for both of them, especially with her husband's reach extending everywhere Marty turns. As the World Championships in Japan get closer, Marty has to decide how much of himself and how many people around him he's willing to sacrifice to prove he's the best. Does obsession get him to the top, or does it burn down everyone who tried to help him? Marty Supreme sits at 7.8 on IMDb, the highest rated film on this entire list. If this list made you rethink age gap romance, hit subscribe right now, because Movie IQ drops picks like this every single week. And that wraps up today's countdown. If one of these 5 older woman, younger man romances is going straight to your watch list, let me know which one in the comments. Smash that like button, subscribe if you're new, and turn on notifications, because Movie IQ posts a brand new ranked list every single week.